All right, welcome back everyone to another episode of the name we still haven't decided to find a name for yet. I know, guys, just help us out. Send us a comment. Like we're really stuck on names. I'm really bad at coming up with names. I mean, we didn't even come up with our name for this page
Yeah.
actually. So like I mean, if you guys have any ideas or whatever. But anyway, let's get to the point. We know why you guys are here. We're here for episode 5 of Loki. And my goodness, what an Easter egg filled epic episode this was. If you we're gonna cover some of the Easter eggs, there's more than the ones that we even have. So I mean we're gonna start off the same way. I have Chris with me as always, because Yendi's not here, so we can begin the shame.
Shame.
And there we go. That's all the time Yendi gets. But Chris, episode 5, man, what were you thinking, bro? Like
Bro,
this was insanity.
I really enjoyed this one. So far,
Best episode.
yeah, it was. That's what I was
Easily.
literally about to say. And I like the comedic area of everything. So the first episode was held high for me for a while because him entering the TVA and everything and going through the process killed me. I was laughing so hard. With
Yeah.
this one, with the quirkiness of everything that was going on, especially with alligator Loki, and I
Hmm.
hope T Turtle makes a shirt with
Yeah,
alligator
I need
Loki.
need it.
But this episode was great, man. We got a lot of information. I'm happy that Mobius was not dead. As
Yes.
soon as Loki popped up, and I was like, cool. But I at first, whenever he woke up and you saw the three other Lokis, I was like, okay, so do they just get stuck in their own dimension with themselves, or is it everybody in one? So they did answer that pretty quickly because I was like,
Yeah.
is it just a Loki plant like dimension for them now, or
I'm
what's
just
going on here?
assumed.
So yeah, the Easter eggs, man. As soon as they were rolling through the open field, I pulled out my phone, start taking notes. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
the helmet, the building, the
Yeah.
helicopter. I'm like, okay.
There was so much. So
Oh
much.
man, there was a lot. There was a lot. Um,
Yeah.
but overall, yeah, one of the best episodes. Even I mean, Tom Hiddleston was right. He said that 4 and 5 were his favorite. I can definitely see why 5 was his favorite.
Yeah.
But yeah, what did you think, man?
I mean, like I said, best episode of the series so far, which kind of, is expected because you got all of the information that we kind of needed because once we saw Loki come back from the pruning, we kind of knew that Mobius wasn't going to be dead. So we kind of like, I was like, okay, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I don't know, like, it was so smart of them to go into a world like this so that you could show a lot of these Easter eggs because you're in an area of where supposedly it's supposed to be like towards the end of time. And why not just throw in anything you can so people can just start getting hype, which we all did. And I mean, the comedic aspect, Marvel always does perfectly. Like I've talked about this earlier in other episodes, but Marvel just has the perfect balance of having a serious tone, but still having that funny nature. Because even Endgame, which was probably one of the most, like, the saddest of the Marvel movies at the time, like the beginning, still had found its way to find uh, comedic timing in there, and it's always perfect for me. And I just feel like it's a perfect balance for you to laugh and be serious. And I think the actors that they get are just
Oh my
phenomenal.
god,
I
they're
mean,
so
like
good,
the
man.
whole cast of Loki's like were just phenomenal. Like every single one of them
And
was
back
just
then
like,
they didn't think like like superheroes and stuff like that. They were like, oh,
mhm,
that's for kids and all this other stuff.
yeah,
And now it's like when you get offered a role for a Marvel film, it's just like, oh no, I'm in the big leagues now. Like this is
yeah.
big. This is really
I mean,
really big.
it's amazing what the MCU has become because
I
now it
know.
is like you said, like all these, like a lot of people are getting work outside of this because of their work on MCU. And let's not talk about what it's done for all these comedians who can actually show their like acting chops, like Paul Rudd and all those guys. Like they can show they can really act, and it really has benefited their careers. And I mean, people are like, I don't want to be tied to these characters. Like that was the stigma on them back then, but now everyone's like, yo, give me a character, I'll be tied to them as long as they
Yeah.
want, and I'll do as many characters as you want me to do. So I think it's really nice, especially for us who are comic book fans. And like me personally, I love this because this is my childhood that I'm literally watching again, and a lot of this information I know, and it felt useless for a long time, and now like I can just talk about it. So I mean, let's get into some of these Easter eggs. I mean, the Easter eggs, if you guys didn't know, started from the beginning of before you even watched the episode, the Easter egg started because Journey into the Mystery is the first comic book that Loki appears in. So, like, legit, they started before you even clicked on the thing, they were giving you Easter eggs. So, like, that's awesome. An awesome callback. Marvel tends to always do that where they'll give you, and that's the thing in MCU. Like Chris said in earlier episodes, if they show something and it has a number or it has anything, it has some type of relevance to any, like, to comic books. Some of them are like comic book numbers. I'll give you a perfect example. Like when you see Frog Thor, Throg, that's actually, and that number that's on his casing, that's actually the issue number that he appears
Yeah.
in. So like they show things like that, and I also love that they did that. That him being stuck in a little glass container kind of was a callback to Avengers when Thor was stuck in the little glass chamber trying to get out also. So like it's just like, again, they do so many things in those little things that you don't catch. And obviously, like me, I watched it more than once because you can't watch it once and catch all of these, because I don't even think I caught all of these, but I'm just saying, like, there's so many Easter eggs in this, and I'm just going off the ones that I caught, like, and know,
The
like,
biggest one
for
that I caught right away was the Stark Tower, but
yep.
Stark was not on the tower, and I was
No,
like,
that was Kang's.
yeah, and I was just like, oh man.
Yeah.
But that
And
one I remember because I was looking at it, and then whenever I saw the name, because I'm new to this comic book stuff, and I really
mhm,
do need to get the MCU the access and start reading Marvel
yeah,
comics because I used to read DC.
Marvel
I used to
Ultimate,
just read Batman comics a lot.
yeah,
But
It's totally worth it.
yeah, so
Marvel Unlimited is totally worth it.
yeah, but whenever I remember you talking about Kang and seeing the name, and I was just like,
Mhm,
who is this? And then whenever I looked it
mhm,
up and stuff like that, I was like, okay, this is this character. Gotcha. I can see
mhm.
where this person could fit in,
Yes.
and where it's going.
Mhm.
The other one was uh the one that made me laugh because we got Endgame and stuff like that, and I saw what Thanos looked like and how
Yeah.
powerful he is. That he had a
Yeah.
helicopter in the comics. So
Yes.
whenever I
He
saw the
did that
helicopter, I was like,
yellow
"Oh,
helicopter.
I guess they just want like his name on there," and it's just like,
Listen.
no, he had his own
No.
helicopter.
Yes, that his big self fit in, which is, that the funny thing about old school comics are like those weird, quirky stuff that they do. Like a perfect example, I know this is a Marvel show, but we're gonna do a little DC dive. But like the invisible jet for Wonder Woman, who can fly, by the way. Like whoever thought that was a good idea? Like you know what I mean? And you just see these things. I mean, even Spider Man used to have the spider wagon back
Yeah,
in the day, where I mean, he used to drive around, but he web slings. So like Marvel used to just do, like, all the comic books used to do these weird, funny, hilarious things, and to see that like that chopper in the color, and that's a comic I own also. So like it's just funny to see, like I said, to be all these things that I've read and now that book is going to have a value to it because it's the book that has Thanos' chopper in it, and that was a wonderful callback. I appreciated that a lot. The Yellow Jacket callback was dope
yeah,
because you know what I mean, just seeing it helmet, which also, remember my theory from earlier. I really think they're in the quantum realm.
yeah,
Like I feel like it makes sense. I just feel like it's the perfect way to be able to go anywhere you want in time. It's like the perfect middle ground of where everything needs to, like, take place. So I feel like that TVA building is in there, and they're just like circling throughout that place. So we'll see. Episode 6 is coming out, so we'll see what else. I mean, the Alioth was amazing. Once I saw that they recognized that, it gave me more suspicion and more confidence that we are going to see Kang, or at least get a reference to Kang in somehow, because this is now the second character that's directly associated with Kang that's been introduced because Ravonna is also a character that is that's heavily involved with Kang. Also, she's actually goes by Terminatrix in the comics. So like her character and Kang actually have like a direct connection. And in in one of the stories, she actually revives Kang. So my theory is slowly coming true and feeling like this because I think they're either going to go one or two ways. Either they're going to do they get there, they're going to cause a Nexus event that creates Kang, or Kang is sleeping and needs to be revived, and then she's going to revive him. Like the Nexus event is going to revive him. I just feel like whatever Nexus event happens in there is reviving Kang, and we might not see him, but I feel the end credit scene is going to be us seeing him, or kind of like the Adam Warlock thing, where it's like, hey, or like him showing up. And being that Kang has already been confirmed for Ant-Man and the Wasp, the Quantum Realm, gives me more suspicion on it actually being Kang in there, and this being in the Quantum Realm, because Kang is going to show up in the Quantum Realm. So I don't know, man.
Should have killed her when you had the chance.
I mean, listen, Ravonna just being, and then that was another great moment, just the conversation and her, like, and Sylvie, like the thing that their relationship with Loki is just a perfect, like, you see them growing to like, growing to like each other and like having that connection, and her wanting to go back to the point where she self-prunes herself, like, and wanting to find Loki, and she finds him. And all that stuff was insane, man. And Ravonna just being, God, why are you so mean?
Bro, she turned like on, like it was so fast where I'm just like, bro, I really don't like this chick. Holy crap. And then like her struggling to fight, like you can see her panicking with Sylvie, like her being like, like to the point where she has she's hiding behind the desk and she's like, oh, come on out. Like, we'll talk about it. Yeah. Like you can tell like things aren't going right in her head, and she's like, I honestly don't know how to handle this situation. She's like, and she just keeps trying to coax her to come out, and we're just like, bro, you're so stupid. Like,
like she's not doing it. So like, but it was great for Sylvie to have the the time pad with her.
Yeah. As soon as I saw the time pad in her hand and she did it, I was just like, and that, because like, well, it's funny how quickly it was that Loki was just like, oh, we need a time pad, and they're like, yeah. Sure, because we have those lying around, and then it cuts to her, and then it goes in, and I'm like, oh, well, there it is.
And I mean, just the whole conversation with the Lokis in the den, and there was just so much going on there, because we got Kid Loki's backstory, we got classic Loki's backstory, which was what everyone wanted.
So perfect. So perfect that they took that rumor and then they literally fit it, and I was just like, and what's cool is that you can honestly say like, hey, this line here, this line that was written in was the fans literally wrote this and we're putting it in, and I think that was so cool to do. And as soon as he said it, I was like, what? I was like, that's what we said. We said that.
I mean, and Richard E. Grant's freaking Loki, classic Loki was just his like voice, his demeanor, his characteristic. Like he was so good at just portraying that kind of a Loki who's been through direct isolation, which is something he didn't want to go through. Like, and it goes to show Loki's character in a sense where it's like, even like they talked about all the betrayals and all that stuff, and then we got that crazy betrayal scene of all the Lokis pretty much betraying each other, which was hilarious also. And then Tom Hiddleston being perfect in that, like just dodging everything, and he's just like, I don't want to be in here. Like, why do you guys have me here? Like, what I mean? He's like, I need to get out of here. But just him explaining the whole, like, I tricked Thanos, that he didn't even believe me. And like, and then also it foreshadowed because he was like, the daggers kind of like mess with our magic. And then later on in the episode, we see Loki's magic, and the dude in one of the coolest moments, I think, like ever, he literally conjures up Asgard.
Yeah.
Like, bro, I saw that and I was literally like, bro, he just conjured up Asgard, the whole thing. Like, you know what I mean? And then like even the Lokis, like Loki and Sylvie, were just like, yo, we're stronger than we think we are. Like, you know what I mean? And it gave them hope to see him do that. But it also showed even that Loki, even the Loki who fended for himself, he had to come back. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's a characteristic of Loki's where it's like, I feel like I'm trying so hard to be good. Like, you know what I mean? And I want to be good and I just need the opportunity to be good. And even classic Loki had his opportunity to be good, and we saw what he did so that he could protect them and, you know, later on figure out what Sylvie's plan was, which was to enchant Alio to figure out what's going on. So I thought that was one of the coldest scenes I've ever seen. So it was so
good.
epic.
I did like when they were all sitting there telling their stories though, and I
Hmm.
did for a split second fall for the what if Loki, where he's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I killed Iron Man and Captain America, and I was
Yeah.
like, huh?
And got the Infinity Stones.
Yeah, and got the Infinity Stones. I was like, what? And then and then the Gator says something. He's like, yeah, that's basically him saying like he's calling
Yeah.
BS. And I was like,
Yes.
oh, okay,
And
cool.
Alligator
I was
Loki. It's just, I mean, he was like, well, he's green. No, he's a Loki.
like, he's a
Like, you
Loki.
know, listen, and just to make things official, this is a Alligator Loki stan account too. So we stand for Alligator Loki. We want everything Alligator Loki. A pop of Alligator Loki. We want T-shirts.
Yep.
We want whatever
We
we
want
can
it
get
all.
from
We
Alligator
want it
Loki.
all because even
And
that,
we want just growl at the bottom of the shirt.
because
And
even
then we
with
can
the
interpret that as however we want to interpret it as.
the moment that he's just like, well, you know, at least my Nexus my Nexus event wasn't me eating a cat. And like I
Yeah.
wish Alligator Loki
The
could
wrong
talk
people,
because
yeah.
the way he moved was like, what the fuck did you say to me? Like
And the way that he looked, like it's so funny that you could feel the way, and like you already made dialogue
yeah,
for him
you just
because he
see
felt so disrespected by it that he had to attack, which was hilarious.
and bites his
Like,
hand.
because you were like, he just looked at him like, "What? Who are you talking to like that?" And like you could sense that, and I don't know how we got that
Oh
expression.
man, it was
But
so
it
good.
felt perfect.
Yeah.
He was like, "Who are you talking to?" And then he just goes and bites him. And then when he bites off President Loki, which another
Yeah,
Easter
callback.
egg callback when Loki ran for president in one Agents of Asgard, like, and then I mean, it just they had so many of those references. Like Agent of, I told you, like if you guys want to get into some of these books that they're getting these stories, Agents of Asgard is one of those. The Loki book that came out in 2019 is another one because that's where they got the Gods of Outcast line from. That's a direct pull from one of those comics right there. I mean, it just went on and on. Ronan Ship was in this.
Yep.
Like the Living Tribunal's head was in there. Like it what the helicarrier was in there. Like it
The
just was so much. Like, you know what I mean?
um the Living Tribunal thing, is he like, is that supposed to be a step down, I guess, from like Galactus and stuff, or is it like are they, because the way I read about him seemed like he was like a very very big deal, like a very big
Yeah.
thing.
So the Living Tribunal is just pretty much like an all-powerful cosmic time-defying entity kind of thing. You know what I mean? So he's like one of those really, really strong characters that you don't like. They don't write too many stories about him because
Because
he's
it's just
strong
too
kind of
too
guy.
much, yeah.
And it's just like, you know, where the Beyonders are like super strong, but they can't touch or see anything.
Hmm.
Like they see everything but can't touch anything or deal with anything. So the Living Tribunal is essentially one of those characters,
Gotcha. Okay.
like that are like the top echelons of strong tier characters that you can't write about because they're too damn
They're
strong.
just gonna
So,
yeah.
like, you know what I mean? But you know about them, but you just don't write about them. So I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, that was another one. Living Tribunal was what you call it? Freaking the weapon that Kid Loki gives Loki is like a callback to like actual Greek, I mean Norse mythology of like actually, you know, Loki's weapon. I mean, and then I mean the snake and wolf line is the reference to Loki's pets. Like, you know what I mean? So like it goes on for like so much, like so many things, so many stories, so many like things that they just threw all in there, and it was like perfection to me.
Yeah. All right, and
You
just
know?
so you guys know, that's not a ghost right there, so don't type in the comments that it's a ghost. It's my wife.
There's a ghost.
But that moment with Kid Loki also, get out of here because it's spoilers. You haven't watched it yet. But
Yeah.
the moment that he's like, like, why are you the boss? Like, why do you get to wear the crown? And he's like, be mindful
Yeah,
to respect him. And he's like, well,
yeah.
what was your thing? And he's like, I killed Thor. And that just like silent moment, I was just like, oh, got
Yeah,
it.
but even Loki was just like, oh, but also that was also a great uh thing because you saw his reaction, like, damn, I couldn't kill, like, I would never kill Thor, like, you know what I mean? So like he just has a completely different relationship with that Thor, and if you guys want to Marvel, what you call it, Young Avengers, read that. You'll see that whole backstory. Also, there's plenty of things to read. Enchantress's, I mean, Sylvie's costume was an Enchantress callback. Like I remember when I mentioned earlier in one of these episodes where that was like her costume. She was wearing her that exact costume. I love the conversation between him and Sylvie. Like they kind of were like awkward and like because they don't know if they
How
could
to,
really trust each other
yeah,
or
yeah.
how to even express, hey, I trust you. Like you know what I mean? And it's hard because it's hard because you're talking to yourself. And like Sylvie saying that relays that she has some doubts, and of course Loki has some doubts, even though like they have this connection. And she's like, how do I know like I won't betray you? And everything that Loki has gone through has shown like this is the Loki we knew in Infinity War, like before he died. Like, yes, I'm over all of this, and he kind of had that Thor moment that in Ragnarok with Sylvie again, like you know what I mean, and it was awesome to hear that, to see that again, to really like finalize, hey, this Loki's not going to betray her because he wants to. Not that it can't happen, but like it might not seem that way, but this is the Loki you guys saw before he died in Infinity War.
Yeah,
So I thought all that was amazing.
I did kind of want to see if Kid Loki's like if he would start feeling guilty about killing Thor. Whenever he
Mm-hmm.
did say he killed Thor, it wasn't like, oh, I'm a badass or anything like that. I
Yeah.
felt it that he was just like, hey, I did this thing, and
Mm-hmm.
now he's kind of like think it's in the back of his mind all the time.
Yeah.
And then
And he's a
whenever,
child,
yeah, and
so
then
it's
whenever
hard
older
to
Thor was
deal with that kind
or
of
older
emotion.
Loki was talking about, like they're like, well, how did the TVA catch you? And he's like, well, I started like missing my brother, my family, and
Mm-hmm.
everything like that, and I wanted to see if they missed me. So they always it
Exactly.
always ends up going back to that point where it's just like he
Exactly.
finally realizes like, man, all these people actually cared about me, and I
Mm-hmm.
did nothing but be an asshole to them,
Yeah.
and now I want to go back. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, thinking with Kid Loki killing his brother, it's just like, okay, well, eventually he's gonna hit that moment where he's just like, you know what, I miss everybody, and I did this
Mm-hmm.
awful thing. So it was just something to think about there. But yeah,
Yeah, it's amazing, and like I said, that their whole dialogue, and then I obviously at the end where we get the moment where like we get some really nice sweet moments like the Mobius and because Sylvie tells Loki that Mobius really cares about you and stuff like that, and then like you see that compassion for like Loki has for
oh, I
Mobius.
teared up when he
And
hugged him and
yeah,
he's like,
no, it
thanks,
was yeah,
friend. I was like,
it was a little
oh,
tearjerker.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
it
was
was a tear because I was like,
like,
ew. But like, you know what I mean? He's like, he's like, he says that, and he's like, all right, friend. And then it's like, they both feel that. And then the funniest line, Mobius is like, you're
you're my,
still my favorite, like to Sylvie, even though he's hugging like who was his actual favorite. So
yeah.
like, it's just so like the man that a like I said, that was a chemistry I had no idea I needed, and I'm so happy we got it. Like I just didn't know I needed that relationship, that friendship to happen. And now he went off to the TVA, which he's probably going to fight Ravonna or something of that nature. But I think my Ravonna is going to show up in where they are, where the Lokis
She's
are.
gonna get
They're
there,
going to show up to what we think is Kang Citadel, because if as you guys know, they open up the portal, they see the Citadel, and like I said, we can only imagine that it's Kang because like it is not like the Mephisto like things for for WandaVision. Like this is like legit time messing, and this is the like keeper. He considers himself the keeper of time. So like if I I don't want to set myself up for disappointment, but I just cannot see us not having some form or some mention or Kang being I just
But
can't
with them,
see
man, it's like,
not happening.
they sit at the table and they're like, well, the logical reason is to do this, but we could also troll really hard. So
No, they can. And but the thing is, like I said, at the beginning, it would be hard pressed to be like, okay, Kang, like you could
yeah,
change it. I just feel like at this point, we've had so many references of Kang's, like just everything, like Ravonna, like I said, being like a direct, like they had a relationship, like you know what I mean, like the like legit relationship, and then Alioth being someone who actually ate the Citadel, like you know what I mean, which if we believe it, like he's actually in the Citadel, like you know what I mean. So like you know what I mean. So I don't know if we will see Kang in this because I feel like this just continues into Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I feel like that's a lot of the things with these TV shows that they're doing because I feel like not Scarlet, but yeah, Scarlet Witch and WandaVision. I just feel like WandaVision is going to go into multiple different stories and primarily be into Doctor Strange, and then Falcon and Winter Soldier, leading into Cap 4, like you know what I mean, and then this movie leading into Ant-Man and Wasp, you know what I mean. So I
yeah,
feel like all these TV shows are kind of having a direct connection to a movie, and I'm really interested to see if Feige actually like goes off with that plan and telling people, hey, listen, you have to watch these shows or else you're not going to understand a key part of that movie. We haven't seen TV shows directly connected in the way that we're seeing it now. So I'm really interested to see if he actually goes with that plan and goes, "Hey, listen, we told you guys you needed to watch this. If you don't understand the movie, too bad." Like, you know what
yeah.
I mean?
Not my
So
problem. I'll put it out there for you.
exactly. I'm really interested to see if he does that. But let's do what we always do. Favorite part of the episode.
Alligator Loki doing the what the did you say to
Which one?
me? The
I
first
don't
one.
know the biting. The
The
biting of
biting, so the biting was interesting to me because that was the first time you actually see like some blood and stuff like that. So because that it was a split second, but his hand's gone and then you see the blood squirt and he's like, ah! Like he starts screaming. And I was just like, oh man, that's the first, because most of the time it's just like cuts camera, somebody gets stabbed or whatever, somebody died off camera.
you see
So
the blood
yeah,
afterward.
yeah, you see the blood afterward. But yeah, no, the first one where he's just chilling in the kiddie pool and then he walks up to What If Loki and bites him. So that was probably
It's
my
so good.
favorite. What about you?
Yeah. My favorite was the rebuilding of Asgard because,
Yeah.
like I said, for me, man, to see something like I'm a huge fan of magic and like seeing things of magical natures in the Marvel, you know, in general, because like in Marvel, these are some of my favorite, like the magicians are usually some of my favorite characters and stuff like that. In DC, like Zatanna's one of my favorite characters. So I love seeing magic and to be able to conjure up all of Asgard, like to the detail. To me, is just like you can like that it's so meaningful because it was so impactful of how much he missed his home that he was able to in every way give the exact detail of what Asgard looked like and just be able to like build that also as a protection of him, like you know what I mean,
Yeah.
to protect his other Lokis and Asgard being home. Like it was so symbolic to me and it just was honestly just badass. Like you know what I mean. So I that was my favorite moment by far. I'm so excited for episode 6 because we know there's going to be a lot to cover in episode 6. So we, of course, are going to be here next week. We also are going to drop a Black Widow video for you guys, which we are going to watch later on since we shot this on a Thursday. Spoiler, we gave it to you guys. You guys know when we recorded it. Oh,
Yeah.
well. But, you know what I mean? So Chris and I are both going to watch that, and then we're going to shoot a video, and that's probably going to come out tomorrow. So if you guys like it, if you guys like this video, please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends. The more exposure we get, the better, so we can just keep doing this because I know I speak for myself and Chris that we both love talking about this, and we
It's
could
really fun.
talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, any final thoughts, Chris?
No, man, just be on the lookout for that last episode. That one's gonna be a long one. I don't think we're gonna try to rush through 30 minutes. I think we'll talk about the series as a whole. It's gonna be a whole thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, be sure to stay caught up with the show so you guys can enjoy it with us.
And we're also going to be working on maybe getting a guest for next week. So we'll see what happens. if we can get into contact and make that work. But guys, thank you again for all the support. This was episode 5 of this. So Fire Team out.